The movies I watched in March, what about them? It was a month filled with new releases, both decent and amazing, the continuation of a franchise, and some random films. Let's get into it!
Please help your favorite average movie guy get to 1,000 subscribers by subscribing right now.
How to Make a Killing, 3.5 out of 5. First, I watched this film at the cinema about a disinherited man who schemes to murder his wealthy relatives one by one to claim a massive family fortune. I will watch anything with Glenn Powell. He again is just so charismatic, but honestly the whole cast is very entertaining. Apart from the cast as actors, I am not sure about some of the characters, but that is more up to the writing than their performances. The film didn't give me enough to root for the protagonist, even if that wasn't what they were going for fully. Margaret Qualley's character also didn't come over as believable to me in any way. The film doesn't really say much and most of the characters are underdeveloped, but in general there's easily more good than bad. It is very fun and well paced, the story moves quite nicely and it pretty much flew by. The Bride, 2.5 out of 5. Next up I watched this film at the cinema about Frankenstein's monster and a scientist who resurrects a murdered woman as his companion, sparkling a dangerous romance and chaos in 1930s Chicago. In many ways it is just not it. The film doesn't really know what it wants to be, it is tonally and stylistically all over the place. It is anything but nuanced. I don't think some of the stuff could have been more on the nose. While some call it boring, apart from a few moments it wasn't really the case for me. It kept me pretty much entertained. The way it looks and the period feel are also great, from the sets to the costumes to the general vibe. Character-wise, some work, but most disappointed me. The Bride didn't really work for me. The character is a little too weird and all over the place, and I didn't get the possession stuff with Mary Shelley at all. That felt totally flat for me, which isn't great when it is the start of the film. While I didn't hate the detectives, there was too much of them, especially towards the end. However, everything with Bill's Frankenstein is great. I even wish it would have been his film. While Jake Gyllenhaal is easily the best in his very limited screen time. One major standout, however, is that dance scene, easily the best part of the film. And as much as I hated the opening, I really liked the ending. Set It Up, 3 out of 5. Next up I watched this film on Netflix about two overworked assistants who scheme to set up their demanding bosses only to develop feelings themselves. I liked it and it is pretty enjoyable and funny, but no way people like this exist. It is a little too ridiculous. The film has great lead performances with strong chemistry and dialogue. That, the hit or miss jokes, and its sweetness truly are what carries the film to a certain quality. Because when it comes down to it, it ends up being very predictable and quite a bit over the top. I like the way in which it didn't get all soppy for everyone involved, but still a little too predictable in general. Copycat, 2 out of 5. Next up I watched this film on Netflix about a criminal psychologist and a detective tracking a serial killer who imitates famous murderers. The premise is very cool, but the execution left a lot to be desired. The opening is kinda crazy, but it does get a little slow afterwards. Not much happens for the rest of the first act. The rest of the story after is also a little slow, while at the same time being very eerie and suspenseful, almost scary, particularly early on. The music is a major influence for this, but maybe a bit overused. It is also well shot stylistically, adding to its suspense. Sigourney Weaver doesn't always sell me, and here she didn't really as well, while the killer was also very lackluster and underdeveloped to say the least. The longer the story took, the less interested I became. There is way too little actual investigating, especially for its runtime. It baffles me why we as an audience see the killer already not even halfway through, a weird choice story-wise. But there were more weird choices as the film went on, while everything it was moving towards became more predictable. Honestly, I didn't know what this was really. I can see what it is trying to be and it has its moments, but it's all over the place, doesn't actually feel real and lacks any real focus. Project Hail Mary, 5 out of 5. Next up I watched this film at the cinema about a lone astronaut who awakens in space with no memory and must figure out how to save humanity from extinction. Is it fantastic? Question. Yes it is. Statement. Watching this just brought a smile to my face. It is so fun. I truly believe this is one of those films that only come by once in a while. It is everything science fiction should be. It is somewhat like Interstellar. It doesn't go as far intellectually, but it is way more lighthearted, emotional and caring. Ryan Gosling is wonderful in the role. Him and Rocky were fantastic together and easily the highlight of the film. The film, but especially their dynamic, is very funny in moments, more than I expected. The film also has some breathtaking visuals, great music choices, a score, emotion and goosebump moments. That one scene on Adrian was absolutely amazing, one of the best sequences I've seen in the cinema for a while. I feel it could have done slightly better in explaining some things in the beginning, and not everything on Earth was interesting, but that did not diminish the final product in the slightest. I have heard that the stakes weren't really felt, and that might be true on a world-ending scale, but definitely not on a personal scale, which I feel they were going for. What a wonderful film, both epic and intimate, an instant science fiction classic that definitely brought wonder back. Ready or Not, 2.5 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film on Disney Plus about a bride who must survive a deadly game of hide and seek with her new husband's wealthy family. I am certainly not as high on the film as some are. It is a fun but dumb premise, and while the film itself should be fun, even funny maybe, I didn't really get that from it. For me, the film relies too heavily on shock value. It felt like it was going from moment to moment in order to keep me engaged. Despite this, as well as it being quite short, it still begins to drag really quickly. Almost feels like it should have been a short film. The acting also isn't great across the board. It is very hit or miss. At least the ending is kind of fun. I will give it that. Scary Movie 2, 2 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film to continue the franchise about a group of students who spent the night in a haunted house parodying supernatural horror films. Why did it go from overtly sexy in the first to way more disgusting, creepy and disturbing in a not horror way here? Some of this stuff is almost puke-worthy to look at. Anything with that hand guy was some of the most unfunny shit I have ever seen. I know the performances should be over the top, but come on. Shawn Wayans actually feels like the only one who can slightly act, with his humor also working the most, while Anna Faris is god-awful here. Weirdly, some of the funnier jokes are actually non-spoof related. While there are some laughs, the wheat plant scene in particular was actually hilarious, it is far and in between and most of it does not land at all. The film's main issue is that it is spoofing way too much at the same time, losing its focus, despite its clear haunted house setting, while also straying away from horror slightly in moments. That is not what scary movies should be about. Scary Movie 3, 2 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film to further continue the franchise about a reporter uncovering a deadly videotape curse and an alien invasion in a series of horror and sci-fi spoofs. It is a clear increase in quality but a real decrease in horror spoof focus. The cast here is really fun, the opening was great, Anna Faris actually improved quite a lot, and Leslie Nielsen is always a massive win. There are more funny gags, the Sixth Sense gag really worked all throughout, while some specific moments easily made me laugh. However, there are too many gags and they are all over the place. The film's biggest flaw is that it strays too far away from the essence of Scary Movie, way more than the second one did. It goes too heavy on non-horror, specifically towards the science fiction genre. As a general spoof film, it is substantially better, but as an entry into the Scary Movie franchise, it is definitely not. The reason why spoofs like The Naked Gun or Airplane or the first Scary Movie work is to focus on the thing they are spoofing. This is clearly missing here, making everything it is doing immediately less funny. Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man, 3.5 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film on Netflix about Tommy Shelby as he returns to face a dangerous new power that threatens his country and legacy. A little rushed and unnecessary, but great in moments and enjoyable nonetheless. It does take a little long to get going, while the show itself is slow that doesn't work in a feature film, making the rest of the film feel rushed. However, once Tommy returns to Birmingham, it is strong as ever. Cillian Murphy is great as always in the role, even more so on the emotional side. The film has some crazy revelations and moments, some that work better than others. The film also looks great in moments visually, with some great music as to be expected. The returning characters are all nice to see, but the villain doesn't feel as fleshed out, big and menacing as he should feel. While Tommy as a character obviously works again, and I like the full circle digging moment, some of the emotional connection is missing between him and his son. There was just too little time for this. The film doesn't hit the highs of the show because it isn't given the same amount of time, but it also doesn't tarnish its legacy in the slightest, and ends up being somewhat of a fitting addition to the world of Peaky Blinders. And there you have it, the movies I watched in March. These were my best and worst watches of the month. I hope you guys again enjoyed me rambling about some films I watched, and if you did, let me know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe for more videos like these. I have been Dean, the average movie guy on your screen. Big thanks for watching. See you next time. Roll the credits.